Pleasure jerks. Ha. Hi.
Hey,
Hi,
what's
Alex.
going on?
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. It's a Saturday night. Thank you very much, Zen Ginger. Right off the bat, audio and video good.
Thank you.
Real quick, before we get into this, I just want to give the reminder that it's a 2-hour show. The whole first hour, Alex and I aren't even going to be looking at the chat. We don't see it at all. So if you have questions for Alex or comments or anything, make sure to save those for the second half. Also, I'm always looking for more people to come up on the focus on. So if you don't mind me adding you to the list, please shoot me an email. It's right at the very top of the screen, ricostan.com. Just shoot me an email. Let me know. Just say, hey, I don't mind if you add me to the list. I know some people don't like to ask. Don't look at it like you're asking. Just look at it like you're allowing me to add you to the list. Because there's a ton of people in our community that I still have not got to. I've done 116 of these, I think, now. So I've still got about 900 left to go. So please. And what Huawei said, no damn questions. And mods, if you would, please drop Alex's link from time to time, which I see Huawei already did. And just remind people also, if they do come in and they're asking questions and getting upset because we're not paying attention, remind them it's because we don't even see the chat. And with that, chat is gone. It's all about you now. It's all about you. Laser focused right here on you. All right, Alex,
Yes.
You don't mind me calling you Alex, do you?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I mean, it's your name, right? So that
Yeah.
you okay. You know what? Let's do something a little different. Usually I dig in and start asking all the questions. Why don't you tell us just a few things about you? Just a high level, where you live, what you like to do, and what you do for a living. Just a high level overview.
Sure. Yeah, my name's Alex. I'm a fish keeper out of Atlanta. I'm just south of Atlanta. I've been keeping fish maybe actively around the last like 8 years or so, but I've grown up around fish tanks in the house as a kid and everything. So I work in aerospace. I work on airplanes and stuff like that. I help
Nice.
jets fly, that kind of thing. Yeah.
We have some pilots in our community. We have air traffic controllers, and
I've met a few. Yeah.
Airplanes seem to be a popular topic on our fish cord from time to time, unfortunately. Sometimes you go on there and there'll be 50 pictures of airplanes, which is fine. But so you live in Georgia. Have you always lived in that same area?
I grew up mostly in Georgia. I was born in New York. I left Georgia in 2012. I joined the military. Did a lot of traveling. Saw the world. Not as I wanted to.
Yeah.
That whole deal. And then I went to a lot of countries. I lived in Korea for 2 years. I've been Germany, Kuwait, Afghanistan, those kind of places. I lived in Kentucky for a couple years, and then I moved back to Georgia once I got out of the Army, and then I got my job at I won't say, but yeah.
And I was going to ask which service. So you were in the Army. I was sort of assuming Air Force just because you're in aerospace, but in the Army. So how long did you spend in the Army?
Yeah, so it was 8 years total. I worked on Apache helicopters.
Oh, okay.
I was a weapons and avionics, electronics kind of thing.
And you mentioned New York. When did you leave New York?
Oh, I left when I was like 6.
Okay. What part of New York State did you live in too?
Long Island.
Oh, okay.
We had a little brief chat of that before.
Did we? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, uncle.
Alex looks a lot like my oldest son, and even his mannerisms are like, my oldest son has a lot more hair. He's got some, my members have seen him. We did a members only, but your mannerisms and stuff, you seem to be from what I've seen, very stoic. Like it seems like you're very level. I don't see you
Sometimes.
like, at least the personality that we see on streams. And I'm sure all of us, sort of hold things back. So maybe that's a big part of it, but you seem like you're just very, very even keeled.
I'll take that. Okay, that's fair.
Well, but my oldest son is also like, nothing seems to rattle him or bother him, at all. So, and I don't know, I just sort of get that same vibe from you, like you don't really get easily upset. Is that not true?
Not easily upset, no, but there's things out there that they'll get under my skin a little bit. Some
Yeah.
things that are irritating.
What's one?
I don't know if that's for stream.
Okay.
Sometimes people will say certain things, and it's like, man, you really shouldn't be.
Okay.
That's bad.
Yeah. All right. I'm with you. On that. Yeah. And it's hard sometimes not to point it out too, but sometimes you just gotta, Okay. So you lived Kentucky, and obviously you've made a home in Atlanta or in Georgia. Is Georgia really, does it feel like home? Is it because that's where your job is? How do you, dive a little bit into that?
Yeah, so I grew up north of the city, up by Lake Lanier. So I grew up kind of like in a smaller town, but near the lake, and that's where most of my family that's around here is living. So I mean, home's kind of like where family is sometimes for a lot of people. I'd prefer to be up there, but I used to live up there when I worked where I work now, which is south of the city, and
Mm,
it was about an hour and a half drive coming home from work, but it would be like 3 hours going to
yeah.
work because of Atlanta rush hour.
Yeah.
So that started killing me pretty slowly, and then I just decided to get an apartment, closer to work. So now I'm only about 20 minutes or so, and I the area is not too great, and the traffic and stuff sucks. So I'm not like sold on this area or anything like that. It's just close to work.
Gotcha. Gotcha. You said you travel a lot, but what about within the United States? Did you travel a lot in the United States too? Have you been to a lot of different places other than the ones you listed where you lived?
Yeah, well, I've been to most of the East Coast, Kentucky, Tennessee. I went to Colorado. Uh,
That's not on the East Coast.
yeah, well, I'm naming other places, but yeah, Colorado was a pretty cool experience. I got to go up Pikes Peak and
Oh yeah.
I see the Garden of the Gods and all that stuff. That was really cool. Coming from the East Coast, where you see like a certain landscape and type of trees and everything's a certain way, and then you go out uh, towards like somewhere like Colorado, where you have like big orange and red, rock figures and things, and you just don't see that on the East Coast. And it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. And it was
Yeah.
similar to I went to Arizona for a cousin of mine had a wedding down there. I stayed there for like a week, and it was really cool too. Like just being like a whole different, it feels like you're on another planet sometimes. The landscapes are so different, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh wow, there's cactus. Like what?
What part of Arizona too did you go to?
I was around Scottsdale area.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I lived in Scottsdale.
Okay,
Lived in
yeah.
Scottsdale, Tempe, Mesa, mostly that
Mhm.
east side of the valley. I miss it from time to time, especially in March when it's like 80 degrees out there, and here we're still getting a ton of snow. So
Mhm.
I do miss it, but
Yeah, we don't get too much snow.
no. But when you do, it shuts things down quick.
Yeah, well, it's not even the snow though. It's just the drivers. You have like a half inch of snow or just a slight amount of ice, and everyone just forgets
Yeah.
how to drive. And
Well, but they're not used to it. So
yeah.
I get that. I get that, because here they're very used to it. The very first snowstorm of the year, there might be a few more accidents because people are remembering. But
Mhm.
then after that, things calm down and you're like, oh yeah, because it's 6 months long. So you get
Mhm.
used to it. So I get that. The down there, plus you don't have any equipment compared to, the
That's
places that
right.
get, you know,
We don't salt the roads whenever
yeah,
anything happens, and well,
you just wait it out.
they sometimes if they know something bad is they can tell a storm's coming, they'll get brine. They'll use like a salt brine mixed with beets. I think beet
Yeah.
juice. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they'll use that sometimes, but very rarely because obviously they don't
Yeah.
use it a lot here.
Yeah. Yeah. Now this year has been extra cold though, hasn't it?
Yeah, we
El
had
Nino.
the thing about Georgia is we have like one day it'll be like 20, and the next day it's like 60s, and so it just throws you off back and forth, and it
Yeah.
really messes with like your sinuses and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
Plus, I gotta imagine. Well, I guess it doesn't last that long. So I was gonna say it's gotta mess with the flora and fauna too. But
Yeah.
it probably doesn't that much because it's not like it's months on end. It's
Mhm.
a week or two. Right? It's
Yeah.
not a long term.
And
Yeah,
a lot of times people keep, like, houseplants outside for most of the year here, and then you'll
yeah.
have, like, a freeze warning and they'll bring the plants in, but then, sometimes you don't know it's gonna be really cold the next day, you don't bring your plants in, and you have, like, a flash freeze or something, and
Yeah.
yeah, I killed a lot of pothos.
Yeah, I don't take them outside very often. I mean, obviously I've got plants, but
Mhm.
they don't really. I don't go out much, and I do get direct sunlight in here from this time of the year, so they do get some direct sun. Anyways, sorry. Well, it's so easy to go off on a tangent when you have things to talk about in common, but we got to focus. It's on you. It's the focus on. It's you. Um, Okay, so you're not really. I mean, if let's say your family decided to move to Colorado, you'd be like, hell yeah, let's go move out there. And
Yeah,
you had a job, obviously, and you could find a job that pays like you do now.
yeah, for the most part, I mean, I'm not excuse me, I'm not anchored to, the city or anything like that. If my family was off somewhere else and all of a sudden I was gonna have to find a new job or something like that, then, I'd look other places for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
And
familiar with the area and,
yeah,
I'm you're comfortable in your surroundings, but there's a lot of other cool surroundings out there if you're willing to go out and look.
yeah, there is. There's a lot of cool places, beautiful, beautiful landscapes. What do you like the most about that area?
What's really cool here is, if I wanted to go to, like, the ocean beach, not like a lake or something, if I wanna go to, like, the beach, I can get in the car in maybe 3, 4 hours, I'm at the ocean, but also if I wanted to go up into the mountains, maybe 2-hour drive from where I'm at, I can go up into the North Georgia mountains, we got the Appalachian Mountains, the
Yeah,
there's a lot of hiking and everything, and then we do have a lot of lakes and things here, a lot of
yeah.
woods, a lot of forest. So, I mean, there's a lot to do, like, outdoor-wise here.
And is that something that you're really into? You really enjoy nature and getting out?
Yeah, so, I mean, I was a Boy Scout, and then, I got older, and I'm still, I try to stay in touch with nature as much as I can. I'll go on a hike every now and then, and,
Yeah.
you know
Gotcha. Yeah, we definitely have that in common. I love being outdoors.
Mhm.
Any chance I can get, I love being out there. Okay. Let's talk about work. And I know you didn't want to talk about your the specific company that you work for, but why don't you know what? Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to young Alex, your very first job ever. Did you do the normal route, uh, retail and fast food and stuff, or did you go directly into the military?
Well, so in high school, it was probably when I got my first, like, official job. Before that, I would, like, cut yards and stuff of my
Yeah.
neighbors. I did a lot of, like, yard work and things like that. My Everyone on my street knew me. If their grass was too tall, they'd let me know, or, I mean, when I was, like, 15, I built a deck, for one of my neighbors. I'm very
Nice.
handy. I do a
Yeah.
lot of DIY, and uh, my dad, my grandpa were all always very good with tools and woodworking and stuff like that, and I inherited a lot of that, just working with them growing up. So I got used to, like, if someone ever had a project, whatever it was, I could help right away. And then landscaping is just something I've always had a fun time doing, even if it was really hot. It's rewarding seeing the finished product, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But after that, my first official job was in high school. I worked at it was like there's like a water park resort, but then they have a hotel that's really big, and they do like big corporate banquets and stuff there. Like Microsoft was there a few times. Sometimes like police departments will come and have like a big thing where they show off like all the new lights and stuff that they can kit out the cars with.
Oh,
Like, they
gotcha.
do, like, trade expos and stuff there, and what I would do was I would set up banquet halls with all the tables, I'd set up conference rooms, and, I'd move the tables, chairs, all that stuff, you know? It was
Yeah.
it was kind of not a very interesting job, but I was, like, 16, 17.
Yeah. Extra money. You didn't need a job at that time, right? But it lets you buy some extra stuff and
Sort of. I mean, I I wanted a truck to, drive to school, and my parents were not, gonna just give me a vehicle, so they would let me. They bought another vehicle for their kids. I have a brother and two sisters,
Okay.
so they
Where are you in that list too? Are you the oldest? You in the middle?
I'm
What?
tied in the middle. I'm the younger
Gotcha.
middle. Yeah.
Okay.
So my family had a vehicle that they got just for the children because we're at that point we had like 3 kids in high school, and there's a lot of band practice and track meets and stuff like that, and it's always instead of like, hey mom, can you come pick me up,
Yeah,
you know message my brother or something.
that was
So
smart.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we had a vehicle that was just for the children. It was an old beat up truck, nothing fancy. However, they said if I wanted to have this vehicle for things like school, I needed to pay for all the gas. And of course it was like 8 mile per gallon, old
Yeah,
clunker.
yeah.
And then also I needed to pay for the insurance.
Yeah.
So, at the time I'm like, oh God, come on. But thinking back, they're teaching me, responsibility and
Yeah.
upkeep, and making me feel like a little ownership of the vehicle, so I don't just like trash it. And,
Yeah.
I had to keep it clean. I had to wash it.
And plus, just knowing how much things cost makes you, I think, a little bit more appreciative of
Yeah.
things. Knowing that you're the one paying for that, you see how much they have done. So it's always
Mhm.
always a good idea.
Yeah. So
Excuse
I
me.
basically just got that job to be able to maintain the ability of driving myself to school, because we had a bus and I rode the bus all the time up
Yeah.
until like junior year, senior year of high school. I was able to start driving, and so I was like, well, if I wanted to have a car and be able to have that independence of going out and hanging out with friends, or coming home after band practice, or going to a friend's house or something like that, and not having to be like, hey mom, can you come get me, you know if I wanted to have that kind of uh,
Freedom.
like freedom, yeah, then I'd have to work for it. And
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty good way of bringing me up, I think.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. That's what we've done as well, and for the most part, and yeah, it's a perfect way to do it. I think you don't just give the kids stuff. I mean, a lot of times, richer people will just say, "Here you go, it's the
Mhm.
16th birthday," and they've got a brand new car, and then 6 months later, it's destroyed. And
I
uh,
hated that. So we're not we didn't grow up like, poor or anything, but we weren't like really rich either. But my area was a pretty good area. But a lot of my friends and stuff, they had like huge houses. And like whenever I went to go to a friend's house, inside their place was like, whoa, this is not how I live.
yeah, yeah,
And they would get I remember people having like Lexus, Mercedes, and stuff like that at high school, and I was like,
gotcha.
what? And then of course they'd wreck them.
Um, were your how what's the age difference between you and your brothers and sisters?
We're all roughly about 2 years apart from each other.
Okay. Did did so my oldest son, the one that you remind me so much of, all of his friends came from like broken homes, and they were all, they just all had rough lives. They're great kids, all of them, every single one of them, but they all had rough lives. And my daughter, all of her friends were all well off.
Mhm.
And she didn't mean to do that. It's just sort of how they fell in with their personalities and everything. Was that the same case with you guys, you and your brothers and sisters, or do you remember anything like that? I mean,
Sort
it's a
of.
while ago, so
I mean, one of my sisters, most of her friends were usually in coming from like high income housing, but I think it was because she did a lot of activities like track and field and stuff like that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
a lot of I think a lot of those kids that were involved in some of those sports, and being able to go to all the events and travel and everything,
yeah,
that you have to pay for that kind of stuff. So I think that group just in general had more money, at least it appeared
yeah,
that way. So a lot of her friends, and then of course she ended up graduating, and she went to college, and all of her friends in college, they were all, they can afford college, so they were a little bit more well off. So
gotcha.
but I was kind of in the middle. I didn't have too many like really rich friends. I didn't really fit in too well with them, but I wasn't like a reject outcast kind of person either though. I was just somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Just you.
Yeah.
Just you. You're just you. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't like it was weird. I didn't fit into like a group of like, oh, there's like the band kids. I'm like, yeah, I was a band kid. But
Yeah.
then, I I was athletic at the time. I did some sports. I did kayaking and things like that. And I wasn't like a jock. I wasn't like the person that's always hanging out with this group over here. I wasn't with like
Yeah.
the goth people, but I was the person that was friends with everyone in every
Yeah.
group.
Yep.
But I wasn't
Yeah.
like the class clown either. I don't
We
know.
we
It's
have
kind of
that in
weird.
common. Yeah. I mean, back then we called them, like the stoners and the jocks and
Yeah.
but but I fit in with all the groups as well. Like the same thing. I
Mhm.
played football, I was on track, but I also, was heavily involved in other groups and,
Mhm.
never pigeonholed into any of them. Where I had friends who could not be friends with the jocks. They couldn't. They were the stoners, and they just couldn't make themselves be friends with jocks. I was
Mhm.
like, they're the same as us, and I was friends with everybody, same exact thing. I just it always seemed weird for me to that people that just sort of stick in one group, and don't try
Right.
to make friends outside.
Make one thing your entire life identity.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I sort of get it. It's especially when you're in high school and you're finding yourself. It's sort of a safety net to have that identity that's very easily, that somebody can just look at you and sort of know some things about you. So I
Mhm.
get that, but it's still at the same time, it's so good to branch out and try to make friends with other groups and people that are different than you. I think that's helped me a lot. And do you feel the same way by going with those different groups? And I always like reached out to people that were different, and I still to this day I do. I try to be very inclusive. Do you find the same thing that today your group of friends that you have are the same very diverse people?
Oh yeah, for sure. And if it wasn't from just the people I knew in high school, I mean, definitely the army did that to me too.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did not serve, so yeah, I gotta imagine that does too.
Mhm.
Because yeah, there's no you are all the same at that level. Doesn't matter where you're from, your
Mhm.
background, nothing. Yeah. So you sort of had some extra help doing that. Okay, so what did you do? you did the lawns and stuff, and then you worked
Oh
at
yeah.
the water park, and
Yeah.
then what was after the water park?
Uh because I worked at this hotel, setting up all the banquets and stuff, there was a f- one of the people in band that I knew had parents that had a catering company, and they would
Oh,
go and cater a lot of events and weddings and things like that. And at that point, I wanted to get into the military. I wanted to work with aviation in some way, because I was always fascinated with airplanes. I was a big Star Wars kind of person, and I liked like the ships and everything, and space travel seemed like really cool. But then you see like an airport, and an airport is like the closest thing to like a spaceport that you'd see in like a sci-fi
yeah,
movie. I'm like, well, this is the beginning, you know. I see it like these are going to be the spaceships, eventually kind of thing.
yeah,
And I was always fascinated by sci-fi, still am. So I decided I wanted to get into aviation. How can I do that without, having to go through years and years and years of school? And it's very, very expensive, that kind of school. And I was like, well, I can join the military. Well, at one point in the Boy Scouts, we did a tour of a Coast Guard facility out near Savannah. And while I was there, they were showing me how everything was like they took us on a boat tour and they're like, "Oh yeah, we work 2 days on, 2 days off. It's, pretty relaxed." And of course, while they take us through, they have like all the guys are sitting back playing on their Xbox and they're making it they're making it look like they're just, chilling out, having a good time. I'm like, "Oh, this seems pretty cool." And then they have rescue helicopters. And I was talking with them and they're saying like, "Oh yeah, well, you can get into working on the helicopters. You don't have to fly them. You can work on them." And at the point of course I know like, oh, there's mechanics and stuff, but you don't really think about the sideline kind of people. You,
yeah,
if someone talks about helicopters, you think about like the pilots. So I went from there to.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
And was that what you were thinking about too, getting into avionics? Were you thinking about being the pilot at first? Is that where you were headed towards?
I didn't think I'd go for being a pilot, but I've always been like really, really good with electronics.
Okay. So
We didn't have like, we had money, but we didn't have like, oh, here's the brand new next thing for you to, my first computer was a mixed match of about 12 computers that were
yeah,
old from the street, and I gutted them and pieced together, oh, this one
yeah.
has a good power supply, this one has a good motherboard. I'd piece everything together until it worked, and then I surprised my parents by having a computer in my room one time. I'm like, where'd you get this?
Yeah.
I just grabbed all of our old stuff and put it together, and I would start doing like gaming and stuff like that. So I was always really good with electronics, and then electronic repair, where I had like a small like radio kit. I think my parents got it from like Radio Shack or something. It got you into like learning how to solder diodes and resistors
Oh yeah.
and stuff.
Yep.
And I mean, that's what I do now. So, but anyway, I was always good into that stuff, and I was interested in aviation. And they're like, "Oh, well, here we have a job of people that fix the stuff on the helicopters." I was like, "Okay." And I went to a Coast Guard office, and I was like, "Hey, I'm graduating soon, and I'm looking for a job. I'd like to work on helicopters." And they're like, "Okay, we'll give you a call." And at that time, I didn't know, but the Coast Guard only brings in like very few people every year, and they
Gotcha.
already met their quota for the year, so they never called. And after a while, I'm like, of calling them, going to the office, knocking on a door, and they don't answer because they're not there. The Army recruiter was right there, and he was like, "What did they have you doing? Because they're not coming back until next year." And I was like, "Well," so I started talking to the Army guy, and he's like, "How about you do our test? We'll see, what kind of things you qualify for." So I take his test, and he's like, "Okay, what do you want to do? Because you could do anything." So I was like, well, I want to work on, aviation stuff. You guys have planes?" And he's like, "Well, not really. We don't really have a lot of planes, but we do have helicopters." I'm like, "Okay." So I was looking at the helicopter jobs, and he was like, "Are you sure you don't want to be a Patriot missile operator?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good. I want to work on things that fly." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Well, missiles fly." I'm like,
Yeah.
well, not the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I ended up being able to pick between a couple different airframes, and I picked the Apache because that's like the coolest. When people think about Army helicopters, they're not thinking of like a Black Hawk or something. They want to see the Apache with the guns and
Yeah.
rockets and stuff. It's like iconic. So I was like, yeah, I want to do that. And then after that, it took me like 6 months to fill the position because it had a long wait list. So that brings me back to that kid I knew that had the catering company.
Yeah.
I started working wedding catering while working to go repair Army gunships. So,
That's pretty
yeah.
diverse. That's pretty, that's a good spread of skills, learning that stuff, the catering stuff, to fall back on. But, so
Mhm.
it sounds like you didn't do the normal Army recruitment stuff. Like, I mean, you obviously had to go through basic training and everything, right?
Right, yeah, so I had to wait. They do, like, they call it the Future Soldier Program. It's all cool, right? Where you show up and do, like PT, where you work out with them, like, once a week, but because I had such a long time to wait to fill the spot, 'cause I had it locked in and reserved, and I had to wait for 6 months just to go to my 6-month-long school. So I'd show up every week, and I'm watching like these infantry guys. Well, they're not infantry yet, but they show up and they're signed up to fill an infantry slot. They're there for like a week or two, and then they're gone. And I'm just seeing cycle after cycle after cycle of all these people coming in. And meanwhile, I'm still like, I'm the
Yeah.
guy that's been there forever.
Yeah.
And then eventually, they send me out. So I went from there to basic training. I did that in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. And then I went from there to Langley, Eustis in Virginia. So that was cool. That was like 6 or 7 months of learning how to do all the helicopter repairs and everything like
Yeah.
that. So
And do they specialize too with the repair? I mean, could you take
yeah,
apart a helicopter and put it back together, or do you just do like just the avionic part of it, just electronic? I mean, how does that work? Are you basically a helicopter mechanic across the board and can do anything?
Not technically, but I mean, I can now at this point. But
Gotcha.
as entry level, they teach you like, so you're gonna do the weapon systems, electronics, all the black boxes and stuff that are, all the digital screens and stuff like that you handle. And then they'll have, so the job is called a 15 Yankee, is like their code for it. And then the 15 Romeo is the person that does like hydraulic systems, body panels, you know, the joke is they have the bigger wrenches where, they're doing like more physical stuff, but they're dealing with hydraulic lines and stuff like that.
Gotcha.
But over time, as you're working in like where you're stationed at your unit, you have a lot of cross training where they only have like two people working mechanics, but they need more. And there's a bunch of us that we finish our job early, and they're like, "Hey, you guys go help them." So there's a lot of time, I worked on, the same stuff they did. I even
Yeah.
worked on other helicopters, just what you need.
You know, I think that's a lot like what Skipper did too. I think Skipper was the same stuff. I don't know if he's here, but Skipper also, I believed, worked on helicopter. I remember him telling some stories about that. I believe he did something with helicopters. So you guys can have a good conversation. Have you been on with Skipper yet?
I haven't been on with him. I've been on his stream a few times as like a person in chat, and I've talked with him.
I bet he'll invite you soon because he does the same type of thing on Sunday nights, right? He does interviews too, a little bit different. We all have our different styles, like Jorge. Everybody that does them has their different styles. But Skipper's, making his way through the community as well, and I'm sure he'd love to have you at some point. But that'll be something you guys could talk about because I'm pretty sure that he also worked on them.
Okay, yeah, I knew he was did some kind of mechanical thing, but I haven't talked with him.
Okay, so how long did you do that then? How long were you actually? You told me before. I forgot now. 6 years? Did you say?
Yeah, it was 6 years active, 2 years reserve.
Okay.
So eight total, and yeah, it was all with Apaches.
And then you got to travel in a lot of different places. Did you have any place that really stood out that you loved outside of the United States that you just absolutely loved? Korea or one of the places you talked about, Germany?
I mean, Korea was cool because I was there for a year and extended to be there for another year. And most of that was just because I was like, well, it would be so expensive for me to come here on my own for like a vacation and see the country myself on my own time. So there were a few times where like we had like 4-day weekends or I could take leave and I'd go out hiking. I went to Mount Sobeksan, which is up north, and it was like really beautiful landscape. It was such like a weird vacation because I had a friend that was Korean that kind of set the whole thing up. There's not really a campground, but a place where you can camp, and it was like a small village. It was away from like big cities and everything. And I remember going on this trip where we got dropped off because that's as far as the road went, but it was like dirt and rock and stuff. We got dropped off and we had to walk way up to where the mountain was. But before we got to the mountain, there were like, small buildings and everything. And like, it was a small village where this person kind of like took us in and they had like a field with chickens and they told us to run around. We had to catch chickens and we caught them so that they cut their heads off and everything. And, that was our dinner. And, it was so surreal, coming from, Atlanta or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we spent the week just sleeping on hammocks up in the mountains. It was a really cool time.
That sounds amazing. That part of it, sleeping in a hammock up in the mountains. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you speak any Korean, or did your friends speak a lot of speak English well? Or most of the people in the country speak English, don't they? I feel like most Koreans are at least
younger.
Yeah.
The younger generation, I think they teach English in school, and they're a lot better with their English. Like if you had to like find someone on the street to tell someone, you'd probably look for a younger person because they would have a better chance of speaking English.
Yeah.
A lot of the older people there didn't speak English, but they kind of like would figure out what you're talking about. But one thing that was cool when I was there, Word Lens was like an app that just kind of came out, And so you could take a picture. Now you could do it live, but back then you could take a picture of like English or Korean and then hit a button and it'll like translate it, and then you can show it to the person. So you could like write and then translate and show it to them. So that
Gotcha.
was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Was there times that came in handy a lot? I mean, were you out enough that you needed that type of translation service? I mean, did you get out in the public that often?
Yeah. Yeah. So on the weekends, I try to go out, and you don't want to be near the base, because near the base, it's just kind of like tourist culture,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
and everyone's just trying to sell you whatever. But if you go like further out and you go out to like the beaches and stuff, then it's you get to like real authentic food, and you get
Yeah.
to see like real sightseeing, not just some touristy kind of thing. And it comes in handy if you're trying to find like a bathroom or something.
Yeah, yeah. I can imagine. You said food. Was there any one single meal or dish or whatever that you really, really liked over there? Could you
Man,
make just one choice?
Korean food was so good. But
Yeah.
I mean, we'd always go to this place where we'd have beef and leaf. So they get like bulgogi and rice and all kinds of vegetables, and you like make a little ball and you put it on like a piece of lettuce and you wrap it up and you eat it like that, and you eat it with your hands. It's so good.
Hmm.
Yeah,
That sounds good.
you
That
can
sounds
find it. You can find it here, but it's not as good.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I gotta imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Any other places? I mean, was there anything in like Germany or any of the other places that you went that really stood out to you that you really either liked or really disliked? Either one, a really bad time, or did you get hit by a bus in Germany or something? I mean, something like that.
Oh no. Um, I mean, Colorado was cool. I was only Colorado for about a month or two, but while I was there, I got to do a lot of like on the weekends I could go out anywhere, and I had a friend that was stationed there. I wasn't stationed there. I was brought there on like a project. So
Gotcha. Okay.
so my friend that was there had an extra truck, and he was like, "Hey," because I went to my basic training and my school with him. I was in Korea with him too. So he went to there. I went to Kentucky, but then I had a project to do over there, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, I've got an old truck you can borrow while you're here." So I got to go out, and that's when I went and I hiked Pikes Peak. I got to see a lot of nature there. That was like a whole day thing, just trying to hike that mountain. That was what the hardest hike I've done, I think. And they have the staircase. I can't remember what they call it. It's like 2 miles straight up, and it's just stairs. And that
Yeah,
was my
it's just,
second week there, where I wasn't acclimated to the
oh yeah,
elevation or anything.
yeah,
And so, I was like passing out at the top, but I did it. That was cool. It was a lot of different landscape and things, like I was saying before, where it was a great place. I would live in Colorado, no problem.
yeah.
Seemed like there's
I
a lot to do.
Yeah, I've been. I definitely like Colorado. There's a lot of stuff I like about Colorado.
Hmm.
We've got quite a few people from our community that live there. Bex and Kyle were taking a break, and I miss and a Geek Boy, and oh god, there's somebody else on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember who it is. We've got quite a few people in Colorado, but
Hmm.
it's a beautiful, beautiful state. The problem that I have with it is I like to be by big bodies of water.
Hmm.
I'm that's where I'm at now in my life. I don't want to ever live away from like a large, either the ocean or one of the Great Lakes or something
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah,
So
I'm jealous of your view, where you have a window from your room. You can look out and see the lake and
yeah,
everything. It's
it's so much
beautiful.
better from the living room because of how the trees are, and from the living room, it's on the same side of the house, and the living room windows are bigger too, but it's just such a great view from that side. But our house is not great, but where we live is just absolutely amazing, and I do feel lucky, and it's very
Mhm.
distracting. I mean, it's dark right now, but
Yeah,
it's just so many times I'll be working on a project, and and then I sit there and stare for 20 minutes.
yeah.
Okay,
If I look out my window, I just see the back of the next building or whatever, and
yeah,
it sucks.
but at least you get out often. You get it.
I try.
Okay, real quick. Are all the plants behind you live?
No,
Okay. I
not in
didn't
this
think
room.
the tall ones were. It looks like bamboo or something.
Yeah, it's some fake bamboo thing.
Okay. All
I
right.
have no light in this room.
Okay.
Outside this window is trees and another building, so there's no light that can. So
Gotcha.
I can grow stuff outside. Like I have pothos I mentioned earlier. I've got a big pot of it, and I'll take clippings from that and put it in my tanks. And they
Yeah.
usually last pretty long, but whenever they die, I'll grab another clipping, and I keep like my master colony outside.
So do you just put the whole stem right in the water?
For the
You
most
cut it
part,
off and put a stem right in?
I'll cut it kind of long. If there's any leaves that are where I want to put it in the water, I'll trim the leaves out.
Yeah.
And, yeah, in my 125, I have a 3D background, and I can pull the background back and kind of slip one of the pieces in and push the background back. It's just kind of like loosely in there,
Yeah.
and that's been pretty good there.
You know what I've noticed? I do that too. You can't really see it, but there's a piece here. There's a bunch right there. I mean, it's in every single tank, Pathos. And what I've noticed that I do, just like you said, I peel off the leaves and the stem in the water. But as soon as I see the root start to grow, I pull it out of the water so that just the root is hitting into the water, so the stem is out, and they last. I've got one over here that's been on there for like 3 years, and it's got nice big leaves, and the stem itself is is fat, and that seems to make a big difference, because when you stick the whole stem in there, then the stem just rots at some point, and like the roots seem to, and the roots are attached to the part that rots, and then all of a sudden you've got nothing there. You're not getting any, so that seems to help.
Yeah, there's probably only like 2 or 3 inches of the stem into the water, and then once the roots start growing, then the plant like grows further out and it hangs over the side and everything. But
Yeah,
I like the look of it hanging over the side than I do over like the top of the glass. And they
same
do
here.
fine there, but the problem I run into is the light, because
Yeah, like you said.
I'm first floor apartment with other buildings and no light anywhere. So anything that I have, it has to be like artificial light,
Yeah.
which is very great for the soul. So I just,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
they'll last as long as they can, and then when they don't, I just replace them.
Yeah. That's there's a guy there's one right here that's hanging up. So I've constantly got, that's a pothos there. So I've constantly got trimmings I can make, and that thing grows like crazy. So again, I get direct sunlight from the window. That's a south facing window. So anyways, let's talk about, because we were focusing on the stuff in the back there, and I saw all those camera lenses. Let's talk about hobbies. Obviously, photography is a big hobby.
Yeah, absolutely. I started that in I think 2012. Of course I worked on helicopters, but like an extra duty thing I volunteered to do was public affairs, where we were overseas in Korea, and people were away from their families. So a big thing that was very popular was I would take pictures of all the ceremonies, and I had permission to break formation, and I can walk around while everyone's standing at attention, and I'd walk around with the camera and get photos of everyone in formation. People get promoted or they get an award or something like that. I'd take a picture of them with the commander or whatever, and actually had like a newsletter and a Facebook page for our company.
Nice.
So, yeah, and so people can see their sons and daughters and moms and dads online while they're over there. So that's when I started getting like really into it. But I just it came naturally to me. I always had an eye for like a good shot, and also the clarity. There's something about a camera where I wear glasses. I've got terrible eyesight, but when you have a camera and you get like some nice sharp lenses and you can like focus and it looks like really sharp. I can't normally see that with my normal vision, but with the camera it's like, whoa, that's how everyone sees. And something about that always like drew me towards it. And also my grandfather was big into photography, all the family events and everything. He always brought an old film camera, one of these ones, and he would be there.
Is it one of those that's up there, the actual one, or that's just ones like it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So these were his.
That's cool. So that is very cool.
He probably filmed, or I mean, it's actual film. It's not digital.
Yeah. You know what? I can't. Nope. Hold on.
This one is Minolta.
Damn it. Hold on a second. I wanted to show.
Trying to get me full screen.
You got to do that. When this talk studio is weird. Let me get out of the way. There. That's the best I can do.
Yeah. So this is one of his old cameras.
Even your camera, your webcam is just really, really sharp. Uh-oh. Okay, you're back. We lost you just for a split second.
I'm back.
Just for a split second. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a lot of his old cameras.
That's cool.
He got me into it, I think. This is
he
the
still
version. No,
is he still with us? I mean, is he still around? Is he?
No, he passed away last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this is one of my first cameras I bought, but then this is his camera strap.
Nice.
So I like to keep his camera strap on one of my first cameras here, and I keep
it,
but I still use it. I just went to Tampa a couple weeks ago, and I took that camera and I was using that strap and everything down there.
You sound like you're pretty close to your family. Were you real close with your grandpa?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you sound like you're close to the rest of your family as well, your sisters and mom and dad and everybody.
Yeah, I mean, we don't talk like every single day, but if I don't talk to them for a week or two, I'll make sure to give them a call and see what's going on.
Gotcha.
But we normally have something family going on once a month at least. Where I'm in like that age range now where my brother just had a baby, and then my younger sister just had a baby too. So now there's 2 babies in the family, and there's a lot of extra, more spouses and more birthdays, and so I'm starting to see them, more and more. But usually at least once a month or so, I'll physically see them. But every week or two, I'll make sure to reach out and give people calls.
That's nice. I mean, as long as you like your family, that's nice. If you don't like them, that's nice. What about you? Are you in a relationship? Are you single? Do you live with somebody? You dating?
Yeah, no, I live alone in my apartment here in Atlanta. I'm single. Not really looking or anything. I'm just trying to get by.
Gotcha. And any pets besides fish?
No. I keep wanting to. I want a dog, but I don't feel like it would be fair to a dog to. I'd have to go out and walk it all the time because you don't have a yard or a fence or anything.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to confine them to where I'm already confined to, and I already don't walk enough. But then I was like, oh, maybe a cat or something. But then I had to deal with for one, my apartment is crazy with their pet fees. It's hundreds of dollars just to have the pet, and then it's like another like $25 or $50 a month, which is like, why?
Yeah.
And I've already been here for like 2 years. I'm looking for a house soon, but the market's been not a great buyer's market at the time. So
I think things are changing though, right? I believe they're changed. I think the next year, 2 years, it should be quite a bit different. Yeah.
I don't want to say like, oh, it looks like we hit the peak, but maybe we have.
It seems like things are turning.
I'd like to get a house with a yard that I can have a fence, so I can have like some dogs and stuff, and I grew up where my family has a lot of pets, and
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, back to hobbies. So photography is a big hobby for you. What are some of your other things that you like to do? Well, it's behind you there. You sort of have a little bit of a display. Like, did you create the fish art?
No, this is a Sam Scales painting.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I've seen a lot of his stuff. I've met Sam a couple of times, and definitely a very good artist. And if you go to the Keystone Clash, I believe he's going to be there again this year. But I mean, he goes to a lot of the events.
Yeah.
But he has been at the Keystone Clash the last 2 years, and there's a lot of other amazing artists there too.
Yeah, I'm probably looking
for. Are you going to go?
I think so. I mean, it's a bit of a drive for me, but I think I'm going to do it. But yeah, I met Sam on Instagram, and through Calidorables Friday night things that she used to do, and I saw him on there. He seemed like a really cool guy. I like supporting our local, but like in our community, like our artists and our small businesses and things like that. Plus, his art is awesome anyway. Like,
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
buy it anyway. But then, I met him in person in Daytona just this past year at Aquashella, and super cool guy. Got to talk with him. We hung out for a minute, got a picture, and I don't want to just talk to him and take his time and not get anything. But I'm like, I really need this. This is a really great painting. I want to get it framed and put it over one of my tanks, but I don't know if I want to do that just yet because I'm probably going to be moving here maybe within the next 6 months, hopefully. But
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so we went off on a little tangent there, but what other hobbies do you enjoy? What do you in your spare time besides fish keeping? What else do you like to do?
Well, the thing I probably do best is just fixing stuff. I fix a lot of broken stuff. I'm really good with my hands and tools, and just figuring out like the mechanics of how something works. I like woodworking, even though I'm in this. I'm in a small apartment. I set up some like sawhorses, and I built my stands on all my tanks that have DIY stands. I made those. I have a 40-gallon saltwater tank that I haven't shown a lot of. There's going to be some stuff on that coming, but I did a plywood stand instead of a 2x4 stand.
Huh.
A lot of people don't do that, and
Yeah.
the footage of making it kind of got really messed up. So I'll have to like recreate or talk about it or something. But I made a plywood stand for that one, and it's really nice. It's holding up. I painted it white. I figure all my stands I paint black, and I'm like, well, if it's a saltwater tank and I want it different, I'll do white because it'll reflect the blue light a little bit. It'll look cool.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So I think it's nice. I'd do it a lot differently if I did it now, but that's for another time. Every time I do something, I'm like, man, next time I'm gonna do this and this,
Yeah.
and then I
You
do
make
it
it better.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And so you don't get stuck in the rut and keep doing the same things over and over again, learning
yeah.
from it. You got to, right?
So I
You
do
mentioned
like
fixing
woodworking and
stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
Fixing stuff. I mean, do you do it like for friends or for, do you do it as a side hustle or do you just like,
I
yeah,
should.
yeah, it sounds like it.
I think a lot of it comes from like learning from necessity, where my car breaks down and I don't have $1 million to have the dealership rob me of every other month or so.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
whenever I have something go wrong, I like a year or two ago, I think it was 2 years ago, the differential in my car just exploded. It cracked open, and I sent a spur gear out into Mars.
Wow.
Too much torque. So it just destroyed my differential. It was a nightmare and couldn't drive the car. So I was quoted thousands and thousands of dollars at the dealership, and I'm like, I don't have that right now. So I had the car in my parents' driveway, and I just went online, watched a few videos, went through a couple instruction manuals, and looking at like engineering drawings of like exploded view of how everything like works. And I come from like engineering background, so I'm like, okay, I could probably do this. I'm not a mechanic, but I've worked on helicopters, and I can figure things out. So I went and I have tools. So I jacked up the car, and I ordered a new differential. I went underneath to see what all was broken first, and I took my notepad with me like I was in the army. I wrote down my model number and everything off the part while I was looking at it, and I went online, and it was like maybe like $900 for the part, and I'm like, that's a lot cheaper than what the dealership
Yeah.
wants to. They wanted several $1,000s. I'm like, this is much better. So I ordered the part and learned how to put it in myself and refill everything. And I mean, it's been 2 years on that differential, so I think I did a good job.
You must have done it right.
Yeah.
Now, do you, and besides the obvious, besides, being sort of, proud of being able to do that, and just like you said, the necessity of it, did you actually enjoy the process of it though? Did you like working on the vehicle? Or was it something that just felt like
Mixed.
this is just what I have to do? Or did you enjoy it?
It's mixed. So like, at the time I'm like, oh man, I got to do all this. Or when it's like it's raining and you're on your back underneath a vehicle and you're turning your wrenches and you
Yeah.
slip and you bust your knuckles into something, and you're like, let some words out, and you're like, man, this sucks. And it's cold and you're laying in the water.
Yeah.
But I've done worse. I've had to lay on the ground fixing helicopters, and I guess part of that kind of prepared me for,
Gotcha. Gotcha. Because
Whenever I'm doing something that feels like, man, this sucks, I think, man, it doesn't suck as much as some of the stuff I used to do.
yeah. Well, plus, like you said, it was something you had to do. You had to have the
Right.
vehicle. You couldn't afford to do it the other way. So that's the next step. I just always, always, always hated working on cars. Other than my Volkswagens, when I was a kid, I had a bunch of, Beetles and Super Beetles and stuff. And those were fun, but those were a hobby. And I hated working on cars. So I just wondered if you enjoyed it.
I might be like, maybe like on the outside I look like I'm annoyed or something when I'm doing it, but definitely like deep down, or at least in the back of my mind, I'm like, hey, I feel good that I'm busy, I'm doing something, I'm working with tools. If I'm ever having like a bad day, it's easily flipped around whenever I am engaging my mind in, having to do something with tools, and you get like that focus, that tunnel vision on repairing something, and then the satisfying feeling of when it works when you're done. And
Yeah.
it's like, I did that, I made it work. And there's something about it in in like the back of my mind where I'm like, yeah, it might have sucked while I was doing it, but I'm glad I was doing it.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to go to a dealership, and I can be self-sufficient on some things.
Yeah. I get that. IT guy for a long time. So whenever I figured out something, there was a business that I worked at. I was hired, and just a couple of weeks, it was probably a month after I got there, I was able to fix a major problem that they had had for a long time. And it was one of my proudest moments. So I get that. And the clarity that you said, I get that too. And a lot of times my family will stay away from me because they'll hear me going, and heavy sigh, and it's not working. And then I figure it out, and they hear me, like cackling in here, like, figured it out. So I understand.
But then you end up being that guy.
I love doing it though. I love being able to say, I fixed it, I figured it out. I got through it. I don't like help. I don't. It bothers me to get help from people.
I don't mind help if there's something that I cannot do.
I hate it.
It might be hard for me to ask for help at first. For people that know certain times in my life where I'm like having trouble doing something. They know I want to do it. I can do it. Just hold on. I almost got it.
Yeah.
But there's always a point where if I have, like, if I'm lifting something that's like really heavy, there's no way I'm gonna hurt myself doing it by myself.
Sure.
I wouldn't mind being like, hey, can you give me a hand with this? We can both do this.
But, yeah. When it comes to fixing a problem, though, you want to do it yourself, right? You want to figure it out. You want to get through it. Yeah, we have that in common. It's already been an hour.
Okay.
An hour's gone by already. So before we open up to the chat, is there anything? I mean, I'm starting to feel like 2 hours isn't long enough, for a lot of these, because some of these conversations, I feel like we just got started. We did.
Yeah, we're just getting started here.
it feels like we didn't get into all your hobbies. There's a bunch of stuff we didn't get into. I wanted to know your thoughts on gun control and religion, and who you're going to vote for. All that important stuff. We would not talk about any of that. I would not do that to anybody. But I feel like we just barely scratched the surface. But to me, that's the sign of a good conversation, that it went by like that, and we still have so much more to talk about. So, but now's a good time. Before we open it up, is there anything that you'd like to tell people about yourself? Is there anything that you'd like to tell them about your channel or any of that kind of stuff? If you want to do something promotional for your channel, I know you're not like real big on the channel stuff, but if you'd like to say anything at all, feel free to. Good time to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm terrible at self-promotion. There is something though that I don't even want to say too much about it, because it's such rough draft in this phase. But I wanted to work on something to have ready to release around this time, but I've just had so much other stuff going on that I don't have anything recorded for it. But I'm working on kind of like a documentary style kind of thing. I'm thinking I want to do something that's above what most content you see on FishTube, you can call it. I want to have like a documentary of like the kind of things that I have going on here, and it be something that's like in 4K that you can comfortably watch on your TV, and you could like I don't want to be like, oh yeah, it's Netflix quality or something, but it might be
Yeah.
something that, like, instead of watching something on Netflix, you'd watch this. And I'm aiming for like a 30-minute or 45-minute kind
Yeah.
of thing. But it's not going to be out for a while. Um, it's a big project. I've been working on it for a few weeks now. It's just nowhere close to being out. I I, I had an idea that I was going to put it out right after. In my head, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just take 2-3 weeks. I'll have this whole big thing done, and then I'll have it set to go live right after we're done here, so I can tell people to go check it out and get like a nice big bump of initial viewers. But yeah, like that's not how the world works. But
No.
I thought I could rush it and do that, and then I stopped myself, and I'm like, no, it's not going to be what I want.
Yeah.
If I I'm not trying to make like a YouTube video. I'm trying to make, you know, it's like something really good quality, just something that can set me apart from other people. Because that's
Gotcha.
one thing. If you see some of my more recent videos of over the past, like, since like September, maybe around that frame, where I've been increasing my quality, the way I present things, the way the visuals are and everything. I've been kind of like trying out different things and seeing like what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and I'm trying to, like, make a name for myself. I'm just started.
Yeah.
I just completed my first year on YouTube. I just broke 1,000 subs, and that's cool and all. But there's a lot of people that have 1,000 subs, and who are they? I want
Yeah.
people to just know who I am and know my channel and know that it's a place to go for like quality stuff. So
Yeah.
I wanna do something that's gonna kind of help with that. But that won't be
Finding
out for
finding
a
your
while.
voice though. You're
Yeah,
still sort of finding your voice, right? Do
yeah,
you know Tank Tested? Do you know that channel, Tank Tested? I haven't seen a
yeah,
lot of stuff from him recently.
yeah. I haven't seen
Um,
anything in a few months.
he sort of sounds like he's sort of where you want to be at a little bit. You know what I mean? He's the way that he does stuff. It's his name is Alex too, I believe, right? I had
I'm
him
not
on. He
sure.
was on the Focus on. Super nice guy.
Mhm,
But he also was a videographer, I believe, for like the Discovery Channel or something like that. I mean, he did it for a living, so
mhm.
he brings a very high quality. He has a lot of knowledge, and his editing skills is amazing. Is amazing. His editing skills is amazing, are amazing.
His grammar skills even better.
Yeah, yeah. um, but if you already know who he is though, so it sounds like he's sort of in the realm that you want to be in. You
Right.
know that high quality stuff. I do no editing. I hate it.
I
I
I do
absolutely
I
hate
do
it.
some. When I say some, a lot of people are it's gonna be way more than most people, but then, for me, it's like it's not enough. It doesn't look the way I want it to look, but at a certain point, I just need to stop and be like, "Okay, I'm spending way too much time on this. It's good how it is."
Are you a perfectionist to it? Is that does it?
I Yeah, I don't wanna say I am, but I definitely am, when I look back at it.
Yeah,
Because I want it to be good. I don't wanna just put out, like, filler content, and I don't wanna just put out content and put out content. I wanna show people what I'm doing, and people can kinda see what I have going on, what I know, and what I'm learning. Because I'm not, like, the expert at anything. I wish I could be. A lot of people know as, like, I'm, like, the Beischer guy. I'm not, like, a Beischer expert. To some people, I might be, but I don't consider myself an expert. I'm learning every day,
yeah,
and when I learn things, um, you might not know the things that I'm learning, and if I don't talk about it, then you might not know. So I like to use my channel as just where I can kind of show what I know in like a educational way, not like a show offy way, and there's just kind of document like my journey through the hobby and how things have been for me, and just what's been going on with my tanks and everything.
gotcha. Well, best of luck. I mean, you
Yeah.
sound like you're well on your way. That's for sure. All right, let's jump in here. The very first one I see is from Whip's World,
Okay.
and I'll feed the questions to you.
Okay.
Fathom suddenly has generational wealth, so you've got all the money you ever want. What are you doing, and where are you doing it at?
Oh man, I think I would start like I don't want to say like public aquarium, but like a complex with like wildlife, but not necessarily like not like, I don't know what the right word for it would be. kind of like what you know, like Blake's Animal Exotic Ranch or whatever. He's got all the crazy animals and stuff like that. But then he's got like huge fish tanks and stuff too. I would want that, but mostly for aquatic animals. And I would make it where public can come in and it's free. But I want people to be able to come in and see stuff and, you know, not have to pay anything and, you know, take pictures, touch tanks, that kind of thing. I just I think that needs to be more common in more places. And it also gives me an excuse to do the whole everyone talks about your dream tank. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
Well, if I've got billions of dollars and do whatever I want, you know, what good is having your 50,000 gallon massive tank full of your favorite fish if you can't show anyone? And
Yeah.
and you know, you bring people over to see it. You know, you especially if it's like public style, but like a private place, but public invited. You know, all these people get to come and appreciate the same kind of animals that you do, and you
Yeah.
get more people into it. You know, so I'd
Nice.
like to do something like that. That because it just seems like that would be like my next step if I had like that kind of money. Then I'm like, yeah, that's what I want to
Yeah.
do.
I like it. Mikey B is next. If you could have invented something that's already out there, already been invented, what would it be? So the way I always take that question was, what would you like to have brought to humanity?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, if I could have invented the camera, that would have been cool.
Nice.
Just because
That's a
it's
good
such
one.
a big part of my life.
Yeah. Yeah, that fits. That's a good one.
And
Zenny, thank you very much. Yeah, please do the @Rico stand because I'm just scrolling down and I probably will miss your question if you don't do the @Rico stand for me. So, Zenny says, if you could talk to your past self and give advice, this is a double, hold on, or your future self and ask for advice. Oh, that's a good one. Okay. So you're going to either give advice to your younger self or ask for advice from your older self. Which one would it be?
man, I don't know. I kind of want to cheat on this one because if I could go back and tell myself like one thing, you know, I don't know if I'd want to because then it would change who I become. And I don't want to be like super cliche about it, but you know, I'm not like some expert at something, but I have my own problems and I overcome them and learn just like everyone does. And if
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't experience the same kind of challenges and things that I've already done in my life, which there've been plenty, then you know, I might not be the person that I am now because of it. So
Yeah.
I definitely wouldn't go back and tell myself something because you know, as much as I have problems still, I'm still me, and that's what makes me who I am. And I think that there's definitely something really strong about that I don't want to give up. Now, if I had to go into the future, I don't know. I don't know what could happen in the future or anything like that. What would I ask future Alex? But I feel like it would end up being like kind of the same thing where, you know, then I'd be getting a shortcut or something. I wouldn't find it out my own way.
Yeah. What about, paying attention to like, stocks and investments over the past 5 years and then going back and telling yourself,
Yeah, I'd go back and tell myself to, you know, instantly invest in Tesla and Apple and everything when I was young, and
yeah,
you know,
and
that
know
way
when to sell.
that way I can get the money to build my giant aquarium.
There you go. That ties into Whip's question.
So that would be, you know, that'd be a good way, I guess. But then I wouldn't have the struggles that I've come through.
Yeah, which again would change you.
If I had all the money from that, then you know I would have just taken my car to the dealership, and then I would have
Yeah.
never, you know, experienced fixing things for my own, and you know, everything has a butterfly effect. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to get too deep
That's
on it.
No, but I think that's a healthy attitude to have about it. I think it is. You know, people talk about no regrets, but that sort of fills in with that. I missed Huawei's question, and his is very simple. Just can you tell Alex to calm down?
No, I'm very exciting. I'm sorry. I'll try to keep it easy for you.
And then Jeff Kane, this will go too. What is Alex's best band camp story?
Oh, I don't know if I have any crazy band stories, believe that or not.
Yeah.
Just my band camp was just, out in the Georgia heat in the middle of a field, just sweating my ass off every day.
What
Just
did you
waiting for the
play?
next water break. I played saxophone. So
Okay.
in marching band I had the tenor sax was my thing. Yeah, and then
Who
I
else
did
plays
some jazz band with
sax?
that too.
Who else plays sax? I can't remember. Steven, did you play sax too? I think trombone was your main thing, right? But did you play?
He
Somebody
seems
else
like a
played.
trombone person.
What is that? What? I don't know what that means exactly.
I don't know, you see like certain people fit into
What?
like different categories of band instruments, you know?
Yeah. What would I be?
I feel like you'd probably do like a trumpet. You feel like you could be a trumpet person?
Yeah, I did. I played the cornet when I was like in,
Okay.
I don't know, fifth grade or something like that.
Yeah, you've got that horn personality.
Yeah. I would have thought like a drummer.
That too,
Uh,
I could see that.
Alishon would like to know roughly where you lived on Long Island. Long Island.
Uh, I'm not
You were
sure.
six.
I
Yeah,
was
you
like
were what?
6.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've
somewhere
seen
on the island.
I've seen the house a few times. There's this small house in the middle of the place, but I mean, I know Long Island's kind of a big place. It's not like a small island, you know. Um, yeah, around Huntington Beach area.
And I got to scroll down. The next one is Dee Dee Kins. Hi, Dee Dee. How did Alex come up with the idea of wheels on aquarium stands, which I'm so jealous of? Such a
Hell
great
yeah!
idea.
So
How'd you come up with that?
wheels have been the absolute game changer when it came to. Sorry, I got away from my mic. The absolute game changer when it came to my 180 gallon tank, because I before that tank I had a 125, and I am sure my stand weighs more than the tank when the tank is empty for that. I built that stand really nice, and I did I don't have doors for it yet because none of my stuff is finished. I don't have doors on anything. I have the doors, they're just not finished
Gotcha.
because I don't need them to hold the tank up, so they end up just being near
Yeah.
my scrap wood and stuff. But I have corner trimming and everything. It looks nice if I had doors on it, but I just whatever. But it's so heavy, and having to move it every time I want to do anything, I need to call my brother, my dad, a couple friends just to do anything. And also, I don't get into this a whole lot of a lot of my content, but I'm a disabled veteran. My spine is just messed up. I have a really bad back, so I can't lift too much weight. So that's just out of the question for me to just manhandle the tank and everything. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I have the strength to do it, but I will absolutely pay for it. So I need a bunch of people to help me move stuff around. So when it came to the 180, having the stand with wheels, um, it's got, I think it's either 6 or 8. I can't remember it right now, but they're very strong industrial casters,
I was
and
going to say
yeah,
that
they're very
you're
strong.
not you're not getting office chair, casters. You're getting
No.
something. Yeah.
They're still small though. They're still compact. They're not like the big wheels. They're tight, and they're very dense rubber. Like if you were to flick it or something, it feels like it's plastic. But once you put a lot of weight, you can see it. It deforms some. But they're super durable, and I do not recommend moving the tank when it has any substantial amount of water in it, because you get that moving water weight. You're gonna have a disaster.
Yeah.
But even when I was setting it up initially, I can drain the tank halfway, and I have a sump on that tank. When I was setting everything up and kind of troubleshooting how I want to do my plumbing and everything, I would just take one hand, move the tank one-handed out from my wall, move this 180 gallon tank. I could just slide it very easily, and then I can get behind it. All my plumbing and everything, all the PVC pipes, it's just so easy just to get back there and not have to do everything in one spot and hope it's good and then move it and then
Yeah.
figure out it's not where you want it, and then you have to call your friends back to try to do anything. It just made me um, a lot more self-sufficient with everything, where I could do it myself without having to rely on having a team of 6 people to help me move all this glass and everything. But also, I'm in an apartment and I'm going to be moving. I don't want to stay here forever, and I can easily just me and like one other person. Because you're gonna have to push it up like a ramp onto like the back of a U-Haul or something. But I can easily back a U-Haul up close to my door with one of the U-Hauls with the ramps, and
Yeah.
two people can push this tank and stand together up the ramp. And
Gotcha.
if you didn't have to use a ramp or anything, if I want to go on a trailer, I could probably do it by myself. But it's definitely a lot easier with at least one more person.
Yeah.
So wheels have been an absolute game changer for me, especially with these bigger tanks. So anytime I build another stand that's going to be big, I'm absolutely going to be doing wheels on it.
How much does it? What's the cost difference between just the stand and then adding those wheels? Is it substantial? I mean, because you said
No.
they're very industrial. I mean, how much more are you adding with the wheels? Not that much.
Man, maybe like $60 for all the wheels.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
not even that. It
Oh,
depends.
good.
You can find the same wheels on one website for way more than another. But you're definitely not wanting to go and get wheels off of Temu or something.
No, you don't want to skimp. Yeah, you want. Yeah,
Don't get the wish.com wheels.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Zenny's up next. So if you had to live, work, and play with any fictional character 24/7, they're there all the time. Any fictional character, and they're like a sidekick for you. Who would that be?
Oh man, I don't know.
Zenny's got a lot of good questions. She said she had some new ones too that she wanted. She was looking forward to this because she had some new questions to trot out for us.
I feel like growing up, I would have wanted like Bill Nye or someone like that.
Oh.
Just for all the like science experiments and stuff like that. Everything.
He's there all the time. He's there all the time. Don't you think you get tired of like him or Neil deGrasse Tyson? If somebody like that, I just feel like I would just get, dude, just shut up. I just want to make some coffee. You know what I mean?
But I know he's not like a fictional person, but I know he,
True.
like the character of him.
Yeah. That'll work if you want to go with him. I mean, if that's.
Yeah.
I picked R2D2.
R2D2 would be really cool.
Because you can just, he can go power off for a while. You don't have to have him there all the time in your face. Mm-hmm. He's not super needy, but he's so handy and can do so much stuff.
Yeah, he's like your own personal movie projector.
Yeah, plus he's a bodyguard. He could shock the hell out of people. I mean, he does it all. R2D2 is awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, next up, I saw Mountain Greenery. It jumped on me, though. There we go. If you could live in any of your tanks, which would it be and why? And in this question, you can sort of, take it how you want. Do you want to be a fish that lives in there, or do you want to be like yourself, shrunken down that lives in there? However you want to do it. But which tank and why?
If I was shrunken down, the last place I would want to be is my 180, because that is just that's like going back into Jurassic Park. That would be the next movie. I would not want to be in there. But maybe the new tank I just set up, my like little nano aquarium, I kind of like aquascaped a little bit. It's nice in there. It looks good. It's one of the first tanks where I wanted it just to look really nice. And it's peaceful. There's peaceful fish. There's some plants. There's cover. It's very serene. It's comfortable. And there's no fish that are going to eat me in half.
But don't you think it'd be fun to ride a Bisher?
Oh, I think that'd be amazing.
That might never be a story.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
That would be awesome. But that might be one of those things in life where it's like you could do anything once.
Yeah, yeah.
Skydive without a parachute once.
Okay, the next one is also for Mountain Greenery, but it's for her significant other, Big Cat. Do you believe in aliens?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And do you think aliens have visited us?
Oh yeah.
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 How do you feel about probes?
But the alien probes, they should stay away from me.
Next up, Zeddy. If your bucket list only, hold on, let me read this one. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, so if your bucket list could have one thing on it, and she's very specific, so something you want to experience or do, not like world peace, but it was guaranteed, like a genie wish, what would that one thing be? one thing on your bucket list that you really would just love to do, and yeah, what would that be?
Man, I would love to go to the International Space Station or something.
Mm,
Or, the if we had like a moon base or something,
yeah,
somewhere in space would be really cool. But I
gotcha.
I don't want to just waste it on that. There's so many, I'd like to go to like, visit Dr. Anthony in Peru or something. I'd
Yeah,
love to do stuff like that too. But
yeah,
if it was just one, how many people get to say they've been to space?
yeah, yeah.
That'd be
Let me
cool.
ask you: did you have the space Legos when you were a kid?
No, I didn't have them.
Mm. They came out when I was a little bit older, but I still play with Legos,
Hmm.
and I remember the all the different weird colors and all the spaceships and stuff that they had. The space Legos, they were so cool.
Hmm.
I
I
just
had
I know how much you like space, so I wondered.
I had a lot of we had some toys and stuff, but like if there's like something I really wanted, my brother could draw, and so like he would draw me like back in the time we had Pokemon cards and stuff. He would draw Pokemon on like a notebook paper, and I like rip them out, and then I play with the drawings like they were like a model or something like that. And I had like rocket ships and stuff like that too, where
Good.
we had some toys, but if I wanted like something very specific, I would try to draw it, or my brother would draw. He would do like Dragon Ball Z and stuff.
That's cool. That
Yeah.
yeah, because it's a whole different level. Instead of just going to the store and buying something, it's something that it takes a lot more imagination. First of all,
Hmm.
that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I like
As
that.
as a kid, I would like make my own Pokemon episodes and stuff in my head with all these like little drawings.
My other son David, who's staying with us right now. At, Now I can't remember what the cards are, but he has a friend who makes cards now, and these are amazing. These cards
Hmm.
they're like foil, and they're just wow. He showed me one the other day, and I was like, holy crap! I've never been into that stuff, but he's big into a bunch of different card
Hmm.
games like Pokemon. So it was just amazing. This card was so perfect. It looked better than
Hmm.
most of the professional cards. It was like an insert card for something. It was just
Yeah,
amazing.
you don't have to be into it to respect and
Yeah.
appreciate like, the quality and the time that went into it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did collect, sports cards when I was
Hmm.
not even a kid, but even into the '90s, I collected. I quit collecting like in early '90s. Dapper Dennis, what's up? And a lot of these questions, and again, I mention this almost every stream, but a lot of these questions have been asked just about every stream. Some of them going back like 3 years now. So
Hmm.
to me, that's just really cool. I just love that. Dennis, is there someone from history that you'd like to meet? This is a two-part. We'll do that one first. Is there somebody from history that you would like to meet and have a nice conversation with?
I mean, by history, is that like they are dead already or something?
Let's say that. Yeah, let's say that
Hmm.
it's somebody who's been gone for quite some time.
Man, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of people that, former astronauts, military generals, former presidents, things like that, where they must have a lot of information, a lot of stuff that if they had one more chance to let someone know, that would be like really interesting. Um,
Some
Man,
good questions, right?
yeah, I can't name like one specific person.
Okay, that's all right. But
Uh,
somebody like that though, within those ones that you gave off, there's somebody
yeah,
military or an astronaut, president, that
yeah.
somebody from that. Okay.
If
The
there was
sec-
someone alive, can I answer that?
Go ahead. Yeah, yeah. Let's do it. Let's hear that.
So if there's someone that I could visit that's alive that is like they've historical significance, I think would be like Adam Savage. I love his channel on YouTube. It's tested, but then
Yeah,
of course MythBusters.
yeah,
MythBusters was like the coolest thing ever for me growing up, and just seeing all the. It's not just like testing and experimenting. It's building. It's seeing the process, and that kind
yeah,
of stuff really works with me. But also, he did a like visual effects model building for like Star Wars, and he's a creator. He's a model maker, and then he's also very heavy in like the film world, and he's involved with a lot of like camera stuff, camera production. And I feel like there's just so much I could I could talk to him about. I see
Yeah.
him in his workshop geek out about tools, and I can easily just see myself just if I could go to his workshop, there's not a number of days I could specify where I would just sit there and just talk about every single tool he's got over there, and
Yeah.
it would be like a dream just to be able to have a day over there.
You've got a man crush on Adam Savage.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. I get it.
Yeah. I respect a lot of what he's done.
Patton Oswalt. That's for me. That's my
Yeah.
that little geek right there. That's mine. He's my Adam Savage. So the second part of that, is there a time period that you'd like to visit? In the past.
I mean, like Middle Ages castles kind of thing seems to be a very, very good time to be around if you know like a lot of like mechanics and science and things.
Yeah.
I feel like if I went back, they'd think I'm a wizard,
Yeah. Yeah, you and Merlin would be on the stake somewhere.
Yeah, they'll think I'm an alchemist.
Yeah. Mikey B says, bring your sax to the clash. SAX, that sax.
Yeah, I have an alto saxophone. I haven't played it in years, but I have it. It's at my parents' house. I picked it up a few times while I was over there. I can still play. I still know, all the fingerings, and I can still read music and everything. I just have it in years.
I know that Mikey is going to bring some equipment, the drums. I think Maritz's drums and the guitar and stuff for him, and I think he's trying to get some other people too. Jenna P is next up, and she's got the Freaky Friday question. So who would you like to see switch places for like a weekend or a week within our community? It could be you and somebody else, or just two other people from our community.
In the community. I would switch places with my friend Mal, Aquarium Delirium, just because he's got a lot of cool stuff going on, but he's also, he's over the pond.
Yeah.
So there'd be a lot of things I'm not used to over there that, I haven't experienced, or, I'd get to see for the first time and see some of the things over there. He's over in the UK.
Yeah.
And then, but also because of the second part of that, someone would have to be in my spot, and there's only a handful of people I would trust to be over here.
But he's one of them.
Oh yeah, I trust him all the way.
Yeah.
I've got my Beischer I've had for a long time, since I got out of the Army. It was one of the things that I used to kind of ground myself was getting into fish keeping, getting into keeping fish. And one of the first fish I got ended up being a Beischer, and then I ended up getting more, and then they get bigger, so I had to get bigger tanks, and here I am. But starting with the Beischer, they have a lot of significance to me. I don't want to say like, oh well, if one of my guppies dies, I'm not going to be upset. But I mean, if one of my like 9-year-old, 10-year-old Beischer died or something, I'd be really upset.
Yeah.
It's taking care of them and growing them, and watching them get bigger and develop patterns, and always having them around has definitely been something that's been able to help me get over a lot of stress and PTSD and things like that. So there's only a handful of people that I would trust taking care of them if I wasn't there. So
gotcha.
I can trust him 100%.
Yeah. Does he keep them too?
No, he keeps angelfish mostly.
Oh, gotcha.
He's got a lot of angelfish and plecos, but he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, I would love to keep someday. Beischers are definitely on my list, but my biggest tank's only a 75, so I'd be all right for a while, but not. I definitely have to get a much larger tank. Dee Dee just said, Alex, I figured you were the horny type.
No brass for me. I've got the saxophone.
Whip says, if the Dark Lord, I love how he words this one. If the Dark Lord would have manifest in a dark, shadowy corner and offer Alex eternal life with no strings attached, would he accept? Eternal life no strings.
Now, is that going to be? I'm going to have eternal life with back problems. That's going to suck.
No, that's yeah, that's a good
I would,
point.
I would say no,
Yeah,
because at a certain point, I feel like it'd be like a Groundhog's Day or something.
yeah.
You stop valuing everything around you. You're just like, yeah, whatever, it'll go. Everything comes and passes except for me. I don't want to feel like that.
Everybody has said no so far, and I agree with that. I also would say no. Because the main thing is you get to see everybody you care about die, and
Yeah.
everybody you care about over and over again. Every time you let yourself get close to somebody, you know that you just get to watch them die. It's like,
Yeah. How many times can you get broken? Jeez.
yeah. It just doesn't sound like, I don't know. Huawei wants to know, pineapple on pizza?
Not my preference, but I'll definitely eat it.
Yeah, I love pineapple.
I'm not going to be like, oh no, I only will get pepperoni. If it's not pepperoni, I'll starve. No. But if you're at your friend's house and they're like, hey, we got some pizza and it's got pineapple, I'm like, I wouldn't even say anything about it. I would just eat it.
Yeah,
But it's not what I would have ordered.
Gotcha. I don't know what. Hold on, Alishon. I'm not sure. Al Hurt, down by the riverside. Al Hurt. Oh, saxophone. Okay. All right. Rico Stan is Al Hurt. I can sort of see it. It was I wasn't sure what Alishon was saying there, but I didn't know who Al Hurt was. The name didn't ring a bell, but he was a saxophonist. He died in 1999. No, sorry, trumpeter and band leader. I said saxophonist for some reason, but
oh yeah, I just looked him up.
Okay, scrolling down. Next one I see is Zen Ginger. When Alex gets this is the one that gets everybody. This is a rough one. When Alex gets to the end of his life, if someone from his past was there to greet him, who would it be, and what would they say to you? So you've just passed away. You're on the Rainbow Bridge or whatever that is. Who's going to be there to welcome you, and what are they going to say to you?
I mean, I would like to think it would be, my family members that have already died. I mean, like now just this past year, I lost my grandpa, but I'd imagine he would be there, and if I'm at my end of my life, then it'd probably be like my parents there too, and they'd probably be like welcoming me.
Yeah. Are they saying anything to you like good job or anything like that? Or are they just saying we missed you and we're glad you're here?
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Maybe it took you long enough. Hopefully.
That question has got a few different people that people that have lost people close to them, like yourself, with your grandpa. And I am very empathetic. So when somebody starts getting a little emotional, I definitely pick up on it. So
yeah, I mean, I feel it. I'm just I try to be collected.
Yeah,
I definitely it would probably be like the most emotional part of your life is right before you go.
Yeah.
Just thinking about all the memories of the people I cared about and everything. Definitely.
Yeah. Hopefully, I go sleeping like my grandpa, not like the passengers in his car that were screaming and yelling. I fucked up that whole. Damn it! It was a whole and I messed it all up. Have you heard it before? You heard that one before?
I haven't. Maybe an iteration, but I know where you're going. Yeah.
It was something about I hope I go peaceful like my grandpa, not peaceful in my sleep like my grandpa, not like the passengers screaming in his car because he was asleep driving, and
gotcha.
I messed it totally up. I messed it totally up. It wasn't funny. Don't patronize me. I'm at the bottom of the chat. If I missed any questions, now's a good time. Please pop them in there. I don't have any other questions. Hi, Lando. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Thank you all for coming in and hanging out with us. I don't have anybody else scheduled for the Focus On right now. I miss John Select Pet. He will be. He can't. He can only do Saturdays as well, so it will be sometime in March for John. Hopefully, I got to work out the schedule with him and see if he's got time. But right now, I don't have anybody else scheduled right now. I do have a few people on my list though, but I'm still looking for more people. So if you don't mind me adding you to the list, my email's at the top of the screen up there. Just shoot me an email. Just say, hey, add me to the list. Again, I've still got I think I've got 6 or 7 people on my list, which is not a lot really. So,
yeah, you must have got at the bottom of the list if you got me up here.
That's not true.
I'm just joking.
But a lot of people have said that, hitting the bottom of the barrel, bringing me up, but there's nobody. That's the other thing. There's no requirements, channel wise. I know you said you hit 1,000. There's no requirements channel wise. I don't care if you have a single subscriber. If you're a member of our community, then I would love to interview you. That's that's the only requirement. I think my comment was read wrong. Alex figured me to be the horny type. Oh, and you played it by playing cornet, which I knew that you played the cornet, Dee Dee. I remember you saying that. So she was, okay. I read that wrong. Zenny, think of your very favorite memories. If you could only remember things with one sense memory forever, would you pick visuals, sound, scent, feel, or taste? Wow, that's a good one. So what would your memories be? What would they contain? Just one of those senses.
I feel like it would have to be my sight.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
As it is, because I think a lot in my head. I'm not the person that's talking to themselves a lot whenever I'm working and I'm alone or whatever. I'm talking in my head, but I'm not hearing it, I'm just kind of doing, but I'm seeing everything. I mean, there's not too many smells I want to remember, and it's not like I'm gonna just feel something.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I get oh, you could smell your grandma's perfume when you were growing up or something. It could be a very touching scent you would want to remember. But we're talking all your memories, everything. But I think the visual would have to be the most important.
I think so too. You nailed it. I think, all the rest of them, do have their place, but the visual, being able to see it. And I do talk to myself quite often. I have imaginary conversations about things that haven't happened that could happen. And I talk even out loud. And sometimes, because, there won't be anybody else here in the house except my son, and he's downstairs. So I'll be in here talking to myself, having a conversation about something that hasn't occurred. It's just impossible that it could occur.
Yeah, I mean, I do that in my head mostly if I'm by myself and there's words coming out. It's usually a curse word because I stubbed my toe or something.
Gotcha. Next one, Benjamin Peters. What is the food Alex would choose if he could only have one forever?
Oh man, I think we did this the other night. Something about that. I mean, I'd have to take a steak. Everyone was talking about whatever, but man, I want a nice sirloin.
I would go with sushi.
I'm not a big sushi person. I don't like raw fish. And I think it comes from growing up near a lake. I would walk around, Lake Lanier used to have a big drought all the time. And so there's a lot of beach. It's just really muddy gravel. And there would be washed up dead fish. But I'd like to go around the side of the lake and pick up all the little knickknacks and things that people knock off their boats and things that wash up to the shore. Yeah. And I'd like to just find whatever would wash up. It was always so interesting to me. But I would try to look for stuff, and then I'd find a big dead fish, and it'd be rotting on the beach, and it just had that fishy rot smell. And then
sushi's not like that. I mean,
I know, but if I get the slight hint of the fish smell,
gotcha.
Then I think back to just dead rotting fish on the side of the lake.
Yeah,
and it disgusts me. It's repulsing. So if I tried sushi, I tried it one time, and it's just repulsing to me. I couldn't do it. I don't like it.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I love it. And I haven't even had that many different types, but
Mhm.
any chance I get, that's like if we do something for birthday or something, I do like to go to some place that's got sushi, which is difficult around here. Next up is Whip. Um, whether you were considered a daredevil or a dumbass for doing it by his friends and family, what was your most memorable holy shit moment?
Uh,
Was there something in the army maybe?
uh, so can you repeat the question? Like,
So basically, doesn't matter how people viewed it. Like that was amazing. How'd you do that? Or oh my god, you're so dumb. What was your biggest like oh shit type moment? Like oh my god, like something that you did that was either you made a 3-point shot from the half court line or something. That was something that you just a holy shit type moment.
I know growing up, I was probably like 14 at the time. My parents like to tell us to every single person that's ever met me. But we'd go camping a lot, and I am a climber. I will climb up every tree ever. At least I used to. But we were camping, and there was this tree with like really long limbs, but it wasn't a pine, but it was some kind of evergreen that had long limbs, but they were very green and wet, so they weren't like gonna snap. And my mom was like, "Hey, it's come down here. It's time to eat." And I, instead of climbing down, I jumped further away from the tree and grabbed onto a branch, and I swung down, and they apparently gave my mom a heart attack. Like, she's freaking out about it. And not only did I swing down, but I was way up there. So I swung down to the next branch where I grabbed another and continued to swing down. And they thought it was like some George of the Jungle shit or something. And they will tell that story to every single person that
Yeah.
I meet, all my friends. They'll tell to their friends. If they'll tell anyone, but they always tell everybody about that.
That's a good one. I don't think I have any of those. I don't know. I don't remember any of them. What do we got on time? Okay, we got about 15 minutes left. It just jumped on me. Okay, here we go. Mikey B wants to know if you could take 2 fish and breed them to make a super cool fish, what would it be?
Oh, that'd be kind of neat.
Any 2 fish. Any 2 fish. Somebody, I think Nathan asks a question a lot like that too. Oh yeah, Nathan. I haven't seen Nathan tonight, but I'll ask his question here in a little bit too.
I really like the colors of some of the small keelies, the killifish, and like what's like that Florida pygmy sunfish or something like that, where it's like it looks kind of like a betta, where it's like dark with like very vibrant blues. I kind of want to get some of those like very vibrant colors, and everyone knows I'm gonna go with like putting them into some kind of like Beischer species or something. Because
Gotcha.
they're really cool, but they're not that interesting looking for most people. But I
Yeah.
think if they were, I mean, the cool ones have like lots of different patterns and bright yellows and big like fanning out tails. But imagine if those were like super vibrant blues, orange, reds, greens.
Yeah.
It would be like a giant predator beta fish or something. Where people would be like, "Oh, that's the cool one. I need to get that." I would definitely want to have like a super colorful one like that. That'd be
Nice.
neat.
That would be cool. And Nathan's question, now that I remember it, isn't really like that, but I'll ask you. I haven't seen Nathan. Um, what fish do you think should not be allowed in the hobby? This is a 2-part one. That's
Mhm.
first part of it. What fish should not be allowed in the hobby for regular hobbyists? You shouldn't be able to go to like a Petco and get it.
Right. Yeah, I had a little chat about this with someone the other day. So I don't like that terminology, but for like the regular person that Petco kind of fish, I was just at a fish store the other day and they had iridescent sharks. Those definitely people don't realize they get really really big. They get bigger than me. Why you realistically you're not going to house that
Yeah.
comfortably. Um, I saw some paku last weekend, but I also go to a lot of like monster fish kind of things. But a normal store, someone's just going to get that and put it in like their 55, because you say like, oh, you need a big tank, and for a lot of people a 55 is a giant tank, you know.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
I first got my 55-gallon tank, I was like, wow, this thing's huge.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
went from like a 20-gallon. I'm like, man, this thing's 4 feet, you know.
Yeah. I could do anything.
I could fill this with so much fish.
Yeah.
But you can't.
No,
You know,
it's not that big. It's
yeah. People will think their 75 is the biggest thing ever, and they'll
Yeah.
put a red tail in it,
yeah.
which is another good one. You know, iridescent sharks, pacu, red tail,
Common
tiger,
pleco. That's
tiger,
always been mine.
tiger
Common
nose.
pleco. Because the common pleco, I feel like, is sold so much. It's probably the most popular of
Mhm.
those fish that get too big. You know
They're
what
everywhere. Yeah,
I mean? But they sell them all over the place. And then, of course, in Florida, they're like,
a nightmare.
oh yeah, they're taking over places. So there's a two-part to that. So the other part is what one fish. There's only one fish in the hobby, only one. We all keep the same fish. What fish would that be?
Ooh, okay. I think it'd have to be some kind of cichlid that has a lot of personality. Just because if it's just one thing, it's gotta check as many boxes as possible. So it's gotta be like interesting when it eats. It's gotta be colorful. It's gotta, you know, when you walk up, it interacts with you a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but whenever I go to a tank at a fish store and I see fish and they're moving around, I don't tap glass, but I'll put my hand in front and I'll move it, or I'll put my hand towards the top like I'm going to feed them. And, I try to see like their response.
Yeah.
And, you don't want just some unresponsive fish. You want something that reacts to you. I think something that checks a lot of those boxes is an Oscar, but a lot of people won't have an Oscar in their tank because it's a little bit too big.
But that's part of it. That's part of it. If you think Oscar, then they would just have to be, that size tank that supports them is the only thing that you can get. You know what I mean? That sort of plays into the question.
Okay. So if they had like a 90-gallon tank or something like that.
Yeah. That's the only kind of tanks there are those tanks that would support them.
Yeah.
Oscar's a good one. I said guppies because there's just so much you can do with the guppies as far as colors and stuff like that go, right?
Yeah, and you can aquascape a tank with guppies.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like
they probably would get boring for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I have guppies and I like them, but I like to,
they don't have much personality.
I'll go face to face with my Oscar. I'll get like real close to the glass. And like I'll stare at him, he'll stare at me, and then I'll put food in there, he'll eat out of my hand, and follows me around. If I walk up and I don't feed him, he'll try to splash me. The water puppy thing. Your guppy's not going to be a water puppy.
No, not at all.
But at least your tank will be good.
My bluegill's getting there. He's really interacting with me a lot more. He was so skittish for the longest time, and he still is, but. Mm-hmm. It's a lot more. I mean, I feed him by hand quite often now, and
I would love a bluegill.
And I got him right here. I collected him. I don't know, 2 years ago. He's in a 20-gallon tank, and he's about 6 inches. He really shouldn't be in there. I really got to get him out, but he's the only thing in that tank. So I should have put the light on so you could see him. Let's see. What do we got? We got 10 minutes left. So Zenny's next. Would you rather be able to go back and relive a day in your past unchanged, or pick a specific day in the future to be able to control? That's an interesting one. So,
what a wild question.
She asks a lot of great questions. So again, go back and relive a day, but it's exactly how, like you said, Groundhog Day, but you're not changing anything. You're living the exact day as it was. Like it was just such a great day, you'd like to relive it. Or control a specific day in the future.
Man, I don't know.
I'd go back.
I feel like I'm leaning more towards the going back, but then I don't want to like prioritize one memory over another because some things mean more than others, but you can't quantify.
Yeah. That would be tough. But, birth of my kids, getting married, there's, stuff like that would be very important to me.
Yeah, see, I have no kids. I'm not married.
Yeah.
Um,
I've got 4. You can have one of them. I mean,
no thanks.
they're all adults. They can help. They can clean the house and
My twin apparently.
Yeah.
um,
Don't know.
I don't really know. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have like any single memory that's just like this is the best thing that's ever happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And controlling the day in the future would be. What if it's just a shit day? I guess if you're controlling it, maybe you get to make it a not shit day or something. What if it just turns out to be? What if you're controlling the day, but because you're controlling it, turns into a shit day?
Yeah, that's gonna be some movie or something.
I
wouldn't want to control the day, but if I was having like a bad day, I could be like, oh, you know what? Now I'm kicking back on the beach. Whatever happened earlier doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah,
that could be cool. But
all right, next is Coral. What's up, Coral? Favorite fish to eat, and would you keep them if you had to set up the proper setup for them? You said you didn't care for fish before, so do you eat fish at all then?
Yeah, I'll eat like
Cooked
salmon.
Fish. Okay.
I eat like freshwater fish, like salmon, trout, catfish. For like saltwater stuff, I usually eat grouper, sea bass, tuna. I don't mind if it's cooked.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'd like to keep like a trout. That'd be cool. That's not too like unrealistic. There's people that keep trout in ponds.
Yeah.
Salmon,
and they are beautiful. Yeah, they are. They're nice looking. And what did I say, Stephen? Checks off another ADHD symptom for Rico. I wonder what it was. I don't remember now.
Check your Rico bingo card.
Zen Ginger, what is his favorite curse word, or least if you don't curse?
Oh, I definitely do. I try to not be crazy about it anymore. I'm no longer in the military. I try to, act like a normal person. But I don't know. I say a lot. I probably say shit all the time. Yeah.
Mine would be F-bomb, but my wife uses shit so inappropriately. I mean, she just, the phrase that she'll say would be something, she's talking about food or something, and she's like, "Eat your shit," and I'm like, "What?"
I don't want to eat shit
with her, and she's like, "Just eat your shit," I'm like, "What?" She just, it just drives me crazy the way she uses it.
Yeah, I remember back in the day being in the platoon and everyone is just saying everything, like every third word or faster.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that was fun at the time, but I don't want to do that anymore. But I definitely am just like, even by myself, I'm like, yeah, where's this shit at,
And Joe Pesci, nobody drops an F-bomb like Joe Pesci. There's something about that. It's not like a big gruff voice, right? He's got sort of a high-pitched voice a little bit,
I'm imagining it in my head right now. I hear it. Yeah.
But like in Goodfellas, am I a effing clown? Am I here to amuse you? The way he says it is just, nobody says it like him. Benjamin Peters wants to know, is a hot dog a sandwich?
I think if you get a crappy hot dog and the bun breaks on the bottom, that will qualify as a sandwich. But I think if it's just one bun, that's a sandwich. That's a sandwich with one piece of bread.
A hot dog doesn't have to even be in a bun. It's the meat. So you could spatchcock it, where with the chicken, how you could do that with it, just split it in half and put it on 2 pieces of bread, and it's a hot dog sandwich. So a hot dog very much could be a sandwich. It doesn't, just because it's a hot dog doesn't mean it has to be in a hot dog bun.
Why is it a sandwich? I think it's a taco.
If it's in a bun, it is closer to a taco. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't have to eat it in a bun. So that's the key. We're almost done. 5 minutes left here. Hopefully I get them all. I think, actually there's quite a bit. Kara C, hello. Chicken and rice or fried potatoes, green beans, kielbasa, onions. What? I'm not sure. Chicken and rice or fried potatoes. but then there's green beans, kielbasa, and onions.
Do I get the green beans and kielbasa and everything on top of either the chicken or the other one, or?
I'm
that
sorry,
sounds-
Karen. I'm sorry. I'm not getting the question. I'm sorry. Try and give it to me again. I'll make sure to look for it before we get
sounds
done.
good.
I do like kielbasa, and I like all those things: green beans, onions, chicken, fried potato. I mean, everything. Melvin, what's up? Melvin says, if you were interested in saltwater hobby and you wanted to do a large saltwater tank like a 300-gallon, what fish would you put in, and corals? What corals and fish?
I'm not super well versed in saltwater, so I don't know a lot of I don't want massive giant panther grouper kind of things, but I would like some predator saltwater fish that are in the 1 to 2 foot range. But I'd have to learn about things that are in that size or smaller, I guess. But I have one saltwater tank, but it's it's got clowns and stuff. But I definitely would want to try some coral and stuff in the future.
I don't have any interest in salt right now. Maybe someday, but I've only been back into the hobby for about 4 years, and there's so much to do still in the fresh side that I'm just not interested in salt yet. Yeah. Maybe someday, but probably not, honestly.
Yeah, I feel that. I still have a lot of stuff I want on freshwater, but at least with my saltwater tank, I keep it no coral, no, it's just fish and live rock and sand and, invertebrates and stuff like that. I'm not, pulling out my, all my science gear and trying to figure out every single parameter. I just, treat it mostly like a freshwater tank. It's very low maintenance.
We were talking about that guy, Jesse, of JN Aquariums from Canada. He used to keep the clowns. He bred the clownfish, and he used very simple. I mean, just bare bottom, 10-gallon tanks. Really, nothing else in there. And he really talked about the fact that you really don't need to spend all the money to keep some of the saltwater stuff. Yeah. It doesn't have to be expensive for some of it.
Yeah, I have a hang on the back filter and a couple cheap wave makers and a heater.
Lando says, flower horn? I don't know. I think, are you asking if he likes flower horns, Lando?
I have a flower horn.
Do you?
Yeah, it's a female. It's very pretty. It's blue and red, a little bit of yellow.
They definitely have personality too. I've only seen them at I've never kept one, but I've seen them at the stores or at the Clash or whatever, and they definitely have some personality. Mm-hmm. Thank you, Killer Kitty, $3 super chat like she always does. All right, it looks like there is some more. Here we go. Just a couple more. Victor C, what's up? Yeah, Zenny. She says, "I know what my favorite curse word is. It's his nickname for me." Well, wait, which one though? I have 2 nicknames for you. The one that I only use just with us that nobody knows, and then the other one that I'm stopping. Coral wants to know: do you get top sliced buns or side sliced for hot dogs?
I think side sliced is more efficient. I don't know. I wouldn't mind either one. I'm not going to be super picky. If a store only had one, I'd just grab whatever.
Yeah, same here. I don't pay attention that much. Usually I think that's the top, but you know what? If they're top sliced and you put it on its side,
it falls over.
So, yeah. All right. I didn't see Kara. Are you still here? I didn't, because I wanted to get Kara's question, but I didn't see it. Did I just miss it? Oh, Jeff Kane. Did I miss one from Aquarium Delirium too? Yeah, if it doesn't have the Rico stand on it, I just skipped by it because you guys are talking amongst yourself, which is fine. Did I miss one from Aquarium Delirium?
Yeah, it's hard to
We're
sort through 400 things if it's not highlighted.
Yeah, that's just easier. And there's not even a lot. There's only 45 people here right now, so it's not like a ton of people, but still. Worst person to find your YouTube channel, and that's from Aquarium Delirium.
Worst person to find my channel? I don't know. I mean, my family doesn't know what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I haven't told like my parents I have a channel or anything like that. I will eventually.
I don't think I would care if anybody. I mean, I sometimes bitch about neighbors. I wouldn't mind if they, saw me complain about them, because I complain about them to their face as well. So
the worst person would be my landlord. That's for sure.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense.
That is hands down. They don't like me.
No,
no. They.
Why? What do you don't seem like you'd be like too disruptive.
No, I'm not. I'm absolutely like the best person to have in your apartment complex, with the exception of having 1,000 gallons of water everywhere.
Yeah, but you're on the bottom floor, so at least you're not gonna, soak anybody else.
No, but like, so we had a flooding where there was pipes got backed up. It was last Labor Day, and of course, the first thing that they're thinking is, oh, the stupid guy with aquariums is having all these problems. They're flooding the place, and no, it's you messed up and you're ruining my stuff.
Yeah, gotcha.
You need to fix this, not me.
Yeah.
But anytime anything goes wrong, I get a phone call and they're like, "Do you still have this thing attached to your shower head? Because we're getting some leaks maybe in the other room." I'm like, "No, don't worry, it's not me." Everything they'll just try to blame it on the tanks. So
Gotcha. Okay, you know what? There's a couple more, but we're already over. Okay, I'm sorry, Kara, and anybody else. Sorry too that we missed it, but I don't want to go too much over now. I believe Vibes is going now too, right? And I know I think Danny and Gina are also going. So you got some choices. Go look at fishfam.link. Again, is there anything that real quick that you want to talk about that we didn't bring up that you think is something people should know about you?
I mean, not really. I feel
hard.
like
That's a hard question. It is.
Let me just tell you my entire life in 2 seconds and give you a summary. I feel like we get along. We'll probably do a part 2 or something eventually.
Yeah, that'd be great. I would love to, because again, that whole first hour was just like that.
Yeah, that was like not even like a quarter of what I was thinking we would talk about. So
yeah,
we just flow,
That's what makes it so much fun for me is the people that are just open, and love to have a conversation. Again, I would like to have more people for my list for the Focus On. So if you don't mind coming up here and hanging out with me for 2 hours, I go on Tuesday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. My email address is at the top. Don't send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, because I probably won't see it. It'll probably sit there for months and you'll just think I'm a dick. I am, but I don't mean to be. So just send me an email and at least I'll see it. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to click buttons now.
All right.
Hey, guys.